Hello friends, today we shall see an interesting and easy way of connecting to a backend database like MySQL. So let's see what all it takes to connect to a backend database. So let me start my presentation. So today's topic friends is connecting to MySQL database from a Java application. So many times whether you are building a mini project or whether you are doing your practical laboratory experiments, you need to figure out how to connect a Java application to a backend. And there are so many different ways of doing it. And we shall see today what is the easiest and the best way to do so. There are a couple of steps that you need to follow to build an application in Java which connects to a MySQL database. The first thing that we need is a XAMPP. XAMPP is a comprehensive package which provides you with a Apache web server, and it has support for MySQL and also PHP. So we'll be making use of only MySQL part of it, and the MySQL admin is provided through the Apache web interface. So we shall see how to install and use XAMPP for creating a database, and also how to know the credentials that are required to connect to a backend database like MySQL. Next thing that we need to do is install an IDE. So I would prefer using NetBeans, one of my favorite IDE, and it simply because it is so simple to use and also provides all the facilities needed. Write your code, compile your code, build your code, and run the program. We need to get the MySQL driver. We shall see what a driver is and how do I get the driver in my application through what is called as a pom.xml file. So POM stands for Project Object Model, which is an XML file which tells what is the driver program that is needed, what version it is, and where is that driver program located. So we need to create a Maven project, and Maven is a build tool which references this pom.xml to get the uh, required driver into our application. So import the packages that are needed in Java application and start connecting to the database. So these are the four important steps that we need to follow. And once this is done, we can get on to extracting the data and also displaying it in the way we want it. So the first step, install XAMPP. You go to any XAMPP download site, searching through Google, download and say next, 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 and your XAMPP get installed. Once XAMPP is installed, you have to launch it. Once you launch, you get this control panel where you have to start the Apache server and also MySQL. These are the only two services that we need to start. Uh, we need Apache because we need to do the database creation and also table creation through a web interface, and that you do by clicking onto the admin button once you start the process. So I shall demonstrate all these steps when you go to the coding part. So once you uh, get into the web interface, you create a database. So in my application, I am going to create a shopping cart application and call my database a shopping cart. And one among the table is, let us say, products. The product stores the product ID, product name, description, price, category, and quantity. Of course, you can add more attributes to this, but this is the minimal that is needed. Next thing is download and install NetBeans. Version 16 is most appropriate for this because it has support for Maven, Gradle projects. So I have chosen specifically because it has support for Maven. So this is how the ID looks like. And on the left hand side, you have the project panel where you get to see what all files that are in your project folder. And also you can see what are the dependencies of this project, uh, and where do these dependencies are stored. And if more dependency files are required, there is a pom.xml in the project files where you have to expand this link, and you will see there is a pom.xml. and I'll show you how to add a dependency entry into the pom.xml and how to get the driver required for doing the connection. So far so good. I'm sure you're all with me so far. So before we get on to the coding, let's see uh, what all things that are needed and what is the importance of the driver when you want to connect to a database like MySQL. So between the Java client application and the MySQL server, we need a driver because the data types and the way data gets stored on the database system is very different from the data types of a Java programming language. So you need a driver which acts as a translator between the Java application and the MySQL syntax. So from where do I get the driver for this? So you can directly go download a jar file of MySQL and put it in the appropriate folder, but there is a better way of doing that or easier way of doing that using Maven. So Maven is a build tool, as you can see in this diagram. It is part of your project, and it gets the description of the you only have to specify the description of the driver in the form of pom.xml. It refers to the pom.xml, and it goes to a what is called as a Maven repository, and from there it will pull the driver and put it in the appropriate folder. So you don't have the trouble of manually downloading the driver and putting it in the driver folder. So to that extent, your life is simpler. So what is that I get when I download my MySQL jar file? So these are the classes that are available in the jar file. Of course, there are many classes in the jar file, but we are interested in only those classes which are relevant to us. So there is a driver manager class, there is a connection class, there is a statement class, and the record set class. So we shall see the use of these things shortly. What all arguments are expected and how to use these classes to connect to database and fetch the data and display the data in our application. Now to load the driver, you require a class called as class, and there's a method called as for name. So this is the method which is used to load the driver, where you have to specify the driver URL. I will show you how to specify that in my coding part. And once the driver is loaded, you have to create a connection using the driver manager class. Once the connection is available, you have to prepare a statement wherein you specify the SQL statement to fetch the data, and you have to execute that SQL statement on the connection that you have created. And once the query is executed, the result is returned in the form of record set. So collection of rows which are fetched from the database are stored in a entity called as record set, and you can iterate through this record set using a while loop or a for loop and display individual rows of the table. So this is the process, and as I mentioned earlier, first you have to load the driver, you have to create a connection, then you have to prepare a SQL statement and you have to execute that query, and once the query is executed, you have to store that return value in a record set and iterate through this record set to get the data onto your screen. So that's it for this PPT presentation. Let's move on to the so as you can see, the XAMPP control panel has come up. The first thing that you would do is to click on the start button here. So the Apache web server starts with a PID of 23048 and it will run on a particular port. The port it uses is 80. Then we need MySQL server. So this also started as a new process and it is running on a port number 3306. So this port number is important for us because that is what we are going to specify in the connection URL. Now to go to the MySQL database interface, you have to click on admin. So the admin console comes up. So you have to click on new to specify a new database. I've already done that. So I have created a database called as shopping cart. And once you are in the shopping cart database, you have to click on new to create a new table. I have already done that. So we have a products table. I will just show you. So this product table has a couple of columns here: PID, product name, price, category, quantity, and description. So there are about uh, 8 to 9 rows here. This is a sample data I have uh, stored, and once we connect to the database, this is the data that I'll be fetching and displaying on the screen. So I'm not going into the details of how to create a table and how to insert all this data. Probably you can refer to some online video for this. So once, what is important here is you need to know two things. One is the port number, which is 3306. Second is the database name, which is a shopping cart. And the third is the table name, which is products. So this is the information that you need to remember, because that is what we are going to use it in our Java program. So let's launch our Apache. So downloading and installing NetBeans is very straightforward. You Google search NetBeans IDE 16, download, and then again next, it gets installed. Only thing, you should make sure that you have the Java JDK of version 8 and above. So my NetBeans ID is up and running. So I click on new project. So a dialog box appears and you have various choices. You can use any of the build tools like Maven, Gradle, or Ant. I'll be using Maven because that is the easiest way to do the things. Here you have to give a project name. Let's call it as shopping cart. So it comes up with a skeleton code here with a class having main method, because this is a starting point from where the program starts running. So if you just run, you'll get hello world on the screen. So it takes a little while because it tries to build the project, and as you can see, we got the hello world program here. So let's now go to the pom.xml file here. As you can see in the project files folder, we have pom.xml. You already have something into this. This is an XML file, which is the first part. If you see, it is specifying the project artifact of your project, that is the project shopping cart. The name given to the application is shopping cart, and the version is 1.0.1. And the packaging is jar. That when I build this program, you will get a jar file of this, which you can take into any other machine and run that application with the command java -jar shopping cart app. Okay. Uh, Now, if you want to get MySQL driver, all that is required is you just dependencies. You have to create one tag here, dependencies, the opening tag and the closing tag. And within this, we have to specify the MySQL driver details. So how do I get these details? I have to open up my browser and go to Google and just say Maven repository. And in the Maven repository, you just have to go to the search box and just say MySQL. Then you can use a MySQL connector. And as you can see, you have only one version of that. You click on the version here. And if you scroll down, you will see the uh, pom.xml description here, dependency. You just have to click in this box. Automatically, this entire thing is copied. You can take it back to your NetBeans ID, and in the dependency tags, you just have to paste. So as you can see, there is one dependency that is added. Dependency, the group ID is com.mysql, and the name of the artifact is MySQL connector J, and version is 8.0.31. So that's it. This will, when you try to build the project, it will consult the Maven repository, download that, and install that in the Java dependencies here. So right now there is only JDK 18, and it might put it in this dependencies folder. Now there is nothing. After you build the project, you will see that this MySQL driver will be in one of these folders. So we shall see that later. Now let me get back to my Java application here. So let us see how to do the coding to get connected to the MySQL. So friends, the first thing that you need to do is load the driver. You just say class.forName, and here you have to specify the bit lengthy. So you can refer to this kind of a code on the internet. So all that you need to do is use class.forName. to specify com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. So right now it is showing error because we need to import certain classes. As I told you, we require a connection class object. You say connection equal to driver dot create, and here you have to specify uh, the driver to use JDBC and JDBC of MySQL, and you have to get it from localhost, and which is running at 3306. Now, this is a connection information. You are specifying where the MySQL server is running. As I told you, when I showed you MySQL, it was running at port number 3306. So that is what I specified. And you have to specify the name of the database here, shopping. That's it. And now the credentials are required to connect. So the username is root, and I'm not given any password for MySQL. So I just have to keep it blank like that. So that's it, friends. We have a connection. Let it show some red lines. That's no issue. We'll set it right. So you have to prepare a statement stmt using the connection dot create statement. Now in this statement you have to specify the SQL query. Select star from uh, products. So you should remember the table name here. Products is the name of the table. You can put where clause, so I'm not doing it right now. So I have created a statement. Once the statement is created, you have to execute that statement, and the result that you get should be stored in result set. So let's call it as rs equal to statement dot execute query select star from products. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. This is just create a blank statement, and the statement you have to mention in the execute query. So, uh, so you have got the connection and you have created a statement. I can set up a while loop here. rs.next not equal to null. I can put a while loop, and I can put system dot out dot println. Here you can say uh, get int, give a space rs dot get string. So get string, it's second field here, column. Yeah, let's check only this. So we shall see the program in action. If I, as you can see, we could connect and get the product ID and product name. So we have got it right this time, but I will add rest of the product. I just have to say get int or get float if it is data type is float. Then you have to mention the index of it. It is at index 3. Yeah, as you can see, it has displayed the price of the product also. If you wanted a larger space, you can put two tabs here so that you get the output in a well format. So prices are all displaced because we are not done formatting because these misplaced. Anyway, so today we learned how to make a database connection using the MySQL driver, and we also looked at how to get the driver into our application using pom.xml, and Maven does the job of getting the driver into our dependencies folder, as you can see here. And once the connection and all is correct, you will get the output as expected in the output. So that's it, friends. Today we could see the easiest and the best way of connecting to MySQL database through Maven